So in this video, we're going to take a look at the relationship between all different types of angles in parallel lines. Now, we're not going to get into the details of labeling them, and we're just going to try and understand the mathematics behind this. So before we even go anywhere near parallel lines, let's just look at two lines. So these lines are crossing here. And let's think about what this means. So let's just draw in a little red angle there. And let's also draw in another blue angle here. Well, do you know anything about these two angles? What do you think they add up to? Well, because they're on a straight red line, look, okay, of course, angles on a straight line must add up to 180. So I can certainly say that the red plus the blue is going to be equal to 180. Got to be true. Now, of course, if I think about the other line, let's just think about that other line going through there. Well, that means that these two red angles are going to have to be the same, aren't they? Okay, we're going to have to be exactly the same as one another. And in fact, these two blue ones are going to have to be the same as one another as well, because that fact about 180 degrees in a straight line, it's got to work for both lines. So these two angles are known as opposite angles. So if I write them as 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay, it is absolutely true to say angle 1 equals angle 3 and angle 2 equals angle 4. They're both going to be identical. The blue ones are equivalent and so are the red ones. So this relationship is known as opposite angles being the same. Okay, now let's move on to some parallel lines, right? So first of all, we need to know what parallel lines mean. And of course, they are lines that are moving at the same angle, right? Okay, they're never going to touch. They are consistent. They go at exactly the same angle, and they are designated with an arrow. This refers to them as being parallel. So let's just draw a line through these. I don't know, any sort of line you like. Okay, there we are. Now, this is the most important thing of this lesson, right? Okay, we have to understand this. And I'll use the green highlighter. Right, this situation focused in on that sort of a crossing of the two lines there is absolutely identical to the situation of the two lines crossing there. There's no difference between them. All the angles in the top green circle are going to be the same as all the angles in the lower green circle. All right, so now that we've thought about that, let's see if we can really understand something. So let's use this idea of red and blue again, right? Let's just say that this angle here is red. Well, what other angles are also going to be the same as that red angle? Well, clearly from what we just saw a moment ago, that opposite angles are the same. And that means that that angle there is also going to be the same as it. But because this situation is the same as the lower situation, I can also say that that angle is the same and this angle here is also the same. So all four of those shaded red angles there are identical. We can't get away from that. And if we consider those being identical, then it kind of follows that this blue angle is going to be the same as this angle through the opposite angles. And also those two mirror this situation down here. So these are the same as well. So if we can remember that we have matching sets of angles, and there's only two possible angles there, and we can also remember that the blue angle plus the red angle is equal to 180 degrees, then that's all the information we need to solve any angle problem in parallel lines. We already know things about triangles and quadrilaterals and round a point and all that sort of thing. So let's try and put that together now and solve some angle questions. Right. So let's take a look at this situation here. We've got to find the angles A, B, and C. Well, I don't know what's easiest to do first. Okay, certainly B has to be 100 degrees because opposite angles are equal. If we consider any one of these straight lines, let's just take that one, we know angles on a straight line must add up to 180. So if we already have 100 degrees, well, that means that this A must be 80, look, because these two angles must add up to 180, just like these two angles must add up to 180. And because they're opposite angles, we can see that C is also going to be 80 degrees. So A and C are both 80 and B is 100. Right, what about this situation here? Well, let's start working out which ones are the same as one another. Well, clearly, look at angle A. It's got to be 70 degrees because they're opposite angles. And which two in the upper situation model the same as the lower situation? Well, let's just shade them in blue for a second. Look, okay. Those two angles are matching these two angles. So that means C has to be 70 as well, and so does B. They're all going to be 70 degrees. The only one I've got to find now is D, and we know that we have a straight line, look, and angles on a straight line add up to 180. So if I want to work out D, I can do 180, take away that 70, and that's going to leave me with 110. So A, B, and C are all 70 degrees, and D is 110 degrees. Okay, let's carry on. Right, this one looks horrible. Let's see if we can put our new understanding of angles together with a few other bits and pieces as well. So let's start by thinking about... let's start off with that straight line. So I know angles on a straight line add up to 180. So that means that the 60 and the 70 and the A must add up to 180. Let's write some working down here. 60 plus A plus 70 is equal to 180 degrees. Well, 60 plus 70 is 130. So now if I take away 130 from 80, I'll be left with A. So A is going to be 50 degrees. So, okay, what next? Well, we could work out B at this point, couldn't we? Because A and B are opposite angles. So if A is 50, B is also going to be 50. So what about C and D? Well, we have that situation of angles in parallel lines. There are two parallel lines, and let's consider this one I'm coloring in blue right now to start with. So if this angle is 70 degrees, then this is the same situation as over here. Well, this angle here, this C, must be 70 degrees as well, right? Okay, they are the same situation occurring. So C is 70, and now if we consider this line I'm now shading in green, what do you think D is? Well, D is that angle there because, look, it's the modeling of exactly the same situation where the red intersects the green, both at the top and the lower. So D is going to have to be 60 degrees. So, in summary, A and B are both 50, and then C is 70 and D is 60. Let's try and do some more problem solving and see if we can work out some other solutions to this one. So this looks quite challenging. So let's take a look and see if we can think about this. Well, we have a box and we have parallel lines going on through both of these situations. So to make this a bit easier for ourselves, let's just draw this, look. Okay, and as well as answering the question, because this is a really complicated question, I'm going to extend those lines on a bit, right? Okay, I want you to really understand what's going on. So any situation where a single line crosses those two straight lines is going to be the same. So if I imagine this one here, look, right, okay, as a red, let's think about that 38 degrees. Well, the 38 degrees in this situation, look, is going to be the same as this situation because it's a green line being crossed by that single red line. So I could say that this is 38. I could say that this is 38, right? If I've now got this rectangle, well, I know that lots of angles here. I know that I've got 90 degrees in total, for example. So all of these are going to be 90 degrees. Well, then B is going to have to be 90 take away 38 degrees. So 90 take away 38 degrees is going to be 52 degrees. Right, what else? What about A? Well, A should be relatively straightforward as well because we've kind of got a similar situation because that red line that I've coloured in is also the same is parallel to that line, isn't it? Right? Because they're on a rectangle. So that means I've also got 38 degrees here and here. So A is 38 degrees. Finally, let's deal with C. Well, I've got a straight line, look, that green line. So if I have 38 degrees plus 90 degrees for that right angle, plus C, I'm going to have 180 degrees. Let's write that out. 38 plus 90 plus C is 180 degrees. So if I add the 38 and the 90 together, I'm going to get 128. So now if I take 128 from both sides, I'm going to have C. So 180 take away 128 is going to be 52 degrees as well. Now, so there we go. We've done that one. And of course, we could have done that in a different way because this situation is the same as this situation. So as we had already worked out that B was 52 degrees, we should be able to see that also C is 52 degrees as well. Okay, so that last question, very, very complicated. Make sure we understand these basic principles, though, that the situation inside two parallel lines is going to be identical at two different points.